Good morning, good morning. Hi, welcome to the Paceline podcast. I'm your own personal epidemiologist, Dr. Justin Xavier Moore, and I'm happy to be here with you today for our very first episode. We're starting this podcast because we want to have a better conversation with our community. Paceline is a nonprofit fundraising organization where 100% of the fundraising is used for research towards ending cancer. I have two very, very special guests here today with me, very esteemed guests. I have the Vice President of Paceline, Mr. James Holmes, and I have also Assistant Professor at the Georgia Cancer Center at Augusta University, Dr. Tianxiang. He is one of 6 awardees for Paceline this year. I don't know if you all know this, but last year, Paceline raised over $300,000 in effort, again, in ending cancer, all right? He's one of those 6 awardees with a grant towards $50,000 for his research. His research is entitled BCR-ABL1 Isoforms and Reshaping the Leukemic Immune Microenvironment and Contributions to Leukemia Progression. Now, I know that was a mouthful, but we're gonna get into exactly what that's about. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be something really, really, really nice and interesting. We just really wanted to share some of the great work that we're doing here at the Georgia Cancer Center and the support that we're getting through Paceline. So this Paceline podcast, we hope that it's going to bring a lot of conversation to our community. I want to go ahead and start off with Vice President James Holmes. Could you tell us a little bit about Paceline as an organization?
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here. Thank you for leading this initial podcast for us. So Paceline was started in 2018 as initially just something we needed, a community environment, a community activity that would raise funds for our cancer center to elevate the brand and awareness of the Georgia Cancer Center. So we are part of the Medical College of Georgia Foundation, and as such, that's along with support of our corporate partners enables that 100% model that you just mentioned here a few minutes ago, about 100% of all fundraising going to the Cancer Center. Our signature event is a bike ride, actually, that happens in the fall, and Dr. Who actually rode last year, as I think you did as well. Did you ride last year?
I definitely did. We're going to show some of those pictures because I worked hard. Yeah.
And so we're doing it again this October, and we're just excited to share with the community where those dollars are going with just the amazing work that Dr. Who and others are doing at the Cancer Center. And this year's event is October 15th and 16th. And those of you that are online watching us, take a look at that QR code in the bottom right of your screen and scan that code. You can get information about joining teams or just supporting our mission. But we're thrilled to be in our 4th year and our 3rd event coming up this October. And I'm excited to hear all the awesome work that Dr. Who's doing. So thank you, Justin.
Yes, no problem. Again, please scan that or go to that QR code and go to pacelinерide.org. We would really love your contributions. Every dollar is going to help end cancer, okay? All right, Dr. Hugh, if you don't mind, just give us a little information about yourself and what you do.
Yep. I really happy to take this opportunity to communicate with the Paceline community, and I want to take this chance to appreciate the great support I received for, and all this support from the community really means a lot to my career and to the cancer research, and I really appreciate it. Yeah.
So we're going to get a little bit into exactly your area of expertise. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an epidemiologist, and that's just a big word for a person that just likes to look at different diseases in human populations. But again, what is your specialty? How did you become a researcher at the Georgia Cancer Center?
So for my research, I studied the leukemia in the cancer center. So I trying to understand how the different gene, just the signal from leukemia cell that change the behavior of the immune system. Because for leukemia, I think it's a wonderful system for me to study the immunology and cancer leukemias and interaction. So for different from solid tumor, right? The solid tumor, they have the physical barrier, so the immune cell cannot kill the tumor because they cannot get involved, get into the tumor side. Potentially is one of the reasons. But for the blood cancer, leukemia, so they are both in the blood circulation. So they have to daily contact with each other. So the leukemia cell must have some mechanism to shield or protect themselves from the immune attack. So that's one of the critical question or focus for my research, actually. Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Hu, for sharing that information. So for a lot of you out there, leukemia, again, is a blood cancer, right? So it's much different than some of our solid tumors. We have, in cancer, we have the world of solid tumors, which are your cancers that may attack a certain organ or a certain system, right? So like breast, prostate, colorectal. These are some of the more prevalent cancers that we know. And oftentimes we hear a lot about them because we see our family members or those who are around us succumb to these issues or these diseases. Really briefly, Mr. Holmes, if you don't mind, could you give us a little background on why you care? How has cancer impacted your life? I was just looking here on Paceline's website, and I know that there's cancer, it touches us all. There's a reason that I got into cancer research and cancer disparities work, but I really wanted to get a little bit behind our VP here for Paceline, and why does this drive you? Why do you do this great work?
Well, I think everybody does have a cancer story, absolutely. And we'd love to have a world where fewer people have a cancer story, and that's sort of our mission, is that maybe one day we won't be able to say that anymore, where everybody's got a cancer story. Today, most people do, and my cancer story is my family first. My grandfather passed away. We were talking about him earlier. My grandfather passed away from cancer, a cancer that today would be very curable, but at the time, 30 years ago, it just wasn't something that they knew how to treat properly. They didn't have all the immunotherapies and so forth. And then over the past decade, my wife and I have had several friends that have had cancer and battled cancer. A very close friend of ours lost their battle last month with a glioblastoma, very aggressive brain cancer. And, his mother-in-law, our friend's mom, is still battling lung cancer. And so all that to say that I've got a lot of cancer stories, and I wanted to do something that could improve outcomes, not just in the next 5 to 10 years, but the work that Dr. Hu's doing and other researchers are doing will change lives for decades and decades. 100 years from now, maybe we can say that no cancer is insurmountable. We'll have cures or treatments for everything. Maybe not cures, but treatments, ways that we can lower those the mortality rates, improve mortality rates. So I'm passionate what we do and very thankful for the work that the Cancer Center does, and that's what brought me here. So
thank you, James. Thank you for sharing that. And just a little bit about myself. Again, one of the reasons why I got into what I'm doing as a cancer researcher is because it really did hit home. My first experience was when I was about 8 years old. I had my grandfather. He was actually my step granddad. He was the one that helped raise me, and he's one of the main reasons why I even became proficient in math and science. I remember sitting down doing math homework with him, and I remember him going from being that person that supported me, that would help me with my homework, and then within a matter of months, I remember him being on a hospital bed as he wasted from hepatic cellular carcinoma, which is liver cancer. And in hindsight, as a youth, you're just sitting there, and I remember trying to talk to him, and he couldn't even remember my name, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what is this? What is going on? Like, how does my granddad not even know who I am? So it hurt me so much that I wanted to explore what were those underlying mechanisms. Of course, I didn't have that language at the time. I'm a 7-year-old. I'm like, what's going on with granddad? And it led me down this path to really try to explore and navigate disease, and then also disparities, because there was a lot of things that we could have done to prevent it. His diagnosis and the prognosis and what actually ended up happening to him. He died within a matter of months after finding out. So again, cancer touches us all. is a huge, huge public health concern, issue. Just some data here to share with y'all as we go and we talk about cancer. In the United States, in 2022 alone, there are an estimated 1.9 million new cases this year. Cancer is also the second leading cause of death behind heart disease, with over just about 610,000 deaths that are expected to be in 2022 alone, and this number has gone up. Now, again, with the U.S. population being pretty huge, and with the advent and the advancements rather of therapeutics and treatment, we have a lot of cancer survivors, but it is a problem. And we do have a lot of people that are still dying when they don't necessarily have to. So again, with the wonderful work that you're doing with leukemia, I think that this is some dope work, man. So I really want to get more into what you're doing. So what I want to talk about now is more about your research team. We want to get behind the scenes on what you do on a day-to-day, right, at the Georgia Cancer Center. We want to be as transparent as possible so that those people who are out there watching and listening can understand, hey, we're using these funds. Like, we're riding a bike. Yeah. That money goes directly to the cancer center, and it's going to help change lives, right? So what is your lab team like?
Yeah.
How did you assemble your team? What do they look like? What's the makeup? Let's get into that. Let's get into some of the fundamentals behind your team here.
Yeah. I would like to take this chance to maybe just get people to know me, and so we know each other as a community and something like a family together as we fight for cancer, right? Yeah. And for me, I get my PhD actually training from China, and I get in 2011 I come here, and I get my. I also inspired in my childhood as I was a boy, and some of my good friend died of leukemia. So at the 1990s, they don't really have a good cure for this kind of disease, and it's some kind of memory you cannot easily forget. And when you was really young, and just some people like your age just die of some disease, and you feel horrible. Yeah. And that's why I go to think maybe I can be able to do something. When I go to apply for college, I go to the life science. I want to study life science, and I go to Wuhan University College of Life Science, and I do the biomedical research. Okay. And after I get my PhD from China, I go to the Medical College of Georgia. At that moment, I go to the my first postdoctor, and I study how
the gene. What year was that? You said that was
2011.
Okay.
Yeah, and in 2011, I get my first postdoctor in the Medical College of Georgia. So I try to study the mechanism behind the hematopoiesis, the blood cell differentiation, and the gene regulation, some kind of stuff. And then later, for my second postdoctor, 2016, I go to my first postdoctor is a different department. It's biochemistry and molecular biology. So, and for my second postdoctor, I go to the Georgia Cancer Center, where this is where I'm now, so working with now. And for this postdoctor, I changed a shift. I still start the blood, but for now, I try to start the leukemia and the cancer genetic. And I 2016, I become 2018, I get promoted to research scientist. Okay. And 2020, I get promotion and as an assistant professor. And now that's when I start to establish my team and my own research direction. And most of people should know what it means. 2020, March of 2020, we are hit hard by the COVID pandemic. So it's really some kind of hard for me to establish my team. And you try to recruit talented people, but they are restricted for traveling and everything, so kind of stuff. But now I get support from the leadership from Cancer Center, my institution. I have some startup money, and with my mentor, Dr. Jun Kao. Well, he is very established and the senior investigator. He give me so many guidance and the instructions, so I can transition smoothly. Now I have for my team, I have 3 research associate and also.
If we could, let's pause just for a minute before you tell us about those associates and your relationship. We're having some streaming issues right now online, and so we're going to pause for just a moment.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Just pause for a moment, and we're going to fix this. Before you go into that, your team, I don't want you to describe all that, and then have to come back and describe it again.
Okay.
So we'll pause for just a moment.
Thank you, James.
We are still recording, so we're just sort of hoping to work some of those streaming issues out, so just give us a moment.
Yeah.
But maybe just on a personal note real quick, until you start getting into your team and research, because I really want our listeners at home to hear all that. Maybe tell us a little bit about what brought you to the medical college. You mentioned your first postdoctorate was the Medical College of Georgia. What prompted you to